My favorite thing about farming is on a really hard day, I can come out here and I can weed for an hour and I stand up and I can see what I did. And I don't have to worry about what I have to do to make the world a better place. I can just head down, straight line, weed to the end, and I did something.
Farmers often describe themselves in terms of generations. You might meet a 10th generation grain farmer whose family has been working the same land for centuries, or a first generation veggie farmer for whom agriculture is a second career. But farmer Gail Taylor of 3 Part Harmony Farm in Washington, D.C. uses the word generation a little bit differently.
I call myself a return generation farmer, which is sort of like a nod to my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, who's the last person in my family to work on a farm. His family were sharecroppers in Mississippi, and when he was in his early 20s, he took the Greyhound north to work in the railroads.
Gail's grandfather was part of a mass movement of some 6 million Black Americans who, between the 1910s and the 1970s, left behind agricultural jobs in the Jim Crow South in search of better opportunities in the industrial cities of the North, a movement known as the Great Migration.
As a granddaughter of the Great Migration, calling what I do being part of the return generation is a mental reminder that not only am I returning to the land, part of it for me is like redefining my relationship to the land.
Since 2015, Gail has cultivated that relationship here, among rows of carrots and kale on the 2-acre plot she leases in Northeast D.C. Prior to that, she worked at another local farm, and in 2014, she joined forces with a group of like-minded farmers, agrarians, scientists, and organizers to form the Black Dirt Farm Collective.
We call ourselves a family.
We're a bunch of folks who really have centered our basis around agrarianism and connecting folks back to the land, particularly connecting Black people back to the land.
Thereby helping to restore a relationship that, for many Black Americans, is one of estrangement.
First we were in bondage, and then we were kicked to the curb and brought into this sharecropping system that also didn't get us anywhere. Now here we are, a people impoverished, for the most part, and landless.
According to the 2017 Census of Agriculture, of the 3.4 million farmers nationwide, only about 45,000 are Black. That's just 1.3%. But a century ago, those numbers were a lot higher. Sharifa Williams is a statistician for the National Agricultural Statistics Service, or NASS, the organization responsible for the census.
The earliest census that actually tracked Black farmers in the U.S. was the 1900 census. That census reported about 768,000 Black farmers in the U.S. If we fast forward to the 1920s, we had about 950,000 Black farmers in the U.S.
That was the peak of Black farming in America, but it didn't last long.
After the 1920s, you started seeing a gradual decline of Black farmers. And then you have this drop. Black farmers operated about 44.9 million acres in the 1920s. Right now, we're sitting at 4.7 million acres. So you're looking at almost, a 90% decline in the number of acres that Black farmers operated from the 1920s until now.
Although total acreage in farms also decreased during this period, it only dropped by about 5%. So what happened? The Great Migration is one piece of the puzzle, Black farmers leaving the land with the hope of better opportunities and to distance themselves from a painful past.
Our perspective is that there's been an intentional disconnect from the land because of the trauma that has happened on the land due to slavery, due to racism, due to sharecropping, due to years of historical trauma that has happened on the land.
But there were other factors as well. Loan discrimination by the USDA often forced Black farmers out of business by making it difficult for them to buy necessary farm equipment, fertilizer, seeds, and more. And lack of access to legal resources to create formal wills meant that when black farmers died, their land was often sold and the proceeds divided between heirs, rather than the farm being passed down intact. These and other factors mean that today, black-operated farms account for just 0.5% of all U.S. farmland. But returning generation farmers like Gail hope to turn things around, 1 acre at a time.
Land is power and stability. And yeah, of course, like for me, one of the most important things is to have Black-owned land.
Which is why in 2021, the Black Dirt Farm Collective collectively purchased a piece of farmland here in Prince George's County.
It's about 24 acres, some cleared and some wooded. And this is essentially what we envision as being our home base, a place where members of our collective can have their workshops, where we can farm, where we can have different encounters and events.
For now, the property is a blank slate used for the occasional event, and this morning to hand off watermelons grown by a black farmer in Georgia to the founder of a nearby farmer's market.
That's what we're all about, trying to figure out how to not just get more of the produce from my farm distributed here in the DMV, but also how to open up that market to more black farmers in the South.
But in the years to come, the collective hopes to transform this blank slate into something uniquely their own.
We're trying to figure out where we want to dig a well. We need a well out here. The growing will probably most likely be over in this direction, we're thinking, but we're not totally sure. So we're just like slowly figuring that out. But I guess we've jumped over the biggest hurdles that we have the space.
A place where they can continue to rebuild and redefine their own relationships with the land, and hopefully help others to do the same.
Everything that we do, our life is centered at the root of it around land. If it's a housing issue, if it's a food justice issue, I think that at the root of many issues is about people's ability to connect to land and access land and grow on land and utilize land and have reverence for land.
Hi, thanks for watching Maryland Farm and Harvest. If you like this story, leave us a comment. If you want to see more, check out our playlists. We've got videos of cute animals, big machines, delicious farm-to-table recipes, and more.